Intervals, as we did before, refers to the distance between two notes. The distance between two notes can be two notes that are following each other, like here, or it could be two notes one above each other, like here. So this is called a melodic interval because it forms a melody, a note coming after each other, bang, tung. And when the notes are placed one above each other like this, it is referred to a harmonic as a harmonic interval because they're being struck together at the same time they be performed together and they form a harmony. So it's a harmonic interval. How do you determine what the interval of a note is? I will just I will use line notes to demonstrate. So you notice these two notes are on the same line. This interval is referred to as a unison when they're on the same line. When they're one line to another line, if you count from this first line, then you go up to the space and then get to the next line, you'll get a distance of 3. 1, if it was in the space here, 2, and this note is 3. So this is an interval of a third. Line, all the way up to the next line. Line 1, space here would be 2. Line would be 3, space would be 4, line would be 5. So this is an interval of a fifth. You check from the lower to the upper note. And let's do one more from this line to the next line. 1, space 2, line 3, space 4, 5, 6, 7. This is an interval of a 7. So right now we are just quantifying. We are quantifying the intervals. This is an interval of 1 or unison. So I'm going to just put that on top. Unison or an interval of 1. From line to the next line here, that's an interval of a third. 1, line, space 2, line 3. Here, this is an interval of a fifth. If you check 1, space 2, next line 3, space 4, line 5. So that's an interval of a fifth. And then this will be a seventh. You'd notice if you go from line to another line, your interval is an odd number. Line to first line, it's a unison. Line to next line, third, fifth, seventh. Similarly, this works if you go from space to space. So say I'm starting on my F in the space. So this is going to be unison. Space, line, space. That's 1, 2, 3. That's an interval of the third. 1. If I go to this line, that would be 2. This space will be 3. This line will be 4. Next space, sorry. Next space will be 5. Line, If we go here, if we go up a third, if we go up to this line, that'll be a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Next space is a seventh. So basically, you can say line to line or space to space is a unison, and then line to the next line or space to the next space is a third. Line, you skip one line, you go up to the next, that's a fifth, or space to the next space is a fifth. And line to the, well, skip two lines, you have a seventh, or space, if you skip two spaces, you have a seventh. And you simply get it by counting from the bottom note, one, and if you go up, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See, it's in the same place. So it's a distance of 7 away, counting all the lines and spaces from the previous note. So if I have to take this note and get it all the way up to here, this will be the first place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's an interval of 7. All right, so obviously, now we did line to line, space to space. What we're going to do is, let's try line to a space. So if we have line, and we go up here, that is an interval of a second. You can see from here, this is 1, and it goes up to the space right above it. So this would be an interval of a second. If we are here and we go up to the next space, 1, and if we have to get it all the way up to here, the space here would be 2, 3, 4. The distance of that is 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a distance of a fourth. Right, and if we go from here, the same E, and we go up to here, to the C, the distance between it will be a sixth. I think you will be seeing the pattern now. So if I count from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the distance to get there is a sixth apart. And let's do one more. And we are all familiar with this word. E to E, that was what we call an eighth on octave. Eighth or octave. The most common term we hear is an octave, which is sometimes written 8 apostrophe VE, spelled octave. So spaced line gives you even numbers. And if you should reverse it, that is, so line to space will give you even numbers. And if you reverse it and you go space to line, you'll also get even numbers. That's a second. That's a fourth. Sorry, that's a line to space. That's a sixth, and F to the high F. That's an eighth or an octave.
Quantifying intervals.
So how do you get specific when you are naming an interval? What if I have G and I want to know the distance between G to B. So you could see it's from a line to line, so it's going to be an odd number. And if I took that G, 1, and carried it up to B, 2, 3, I would have gotten a third. So you could tell a musician, let's play an interval of a third. But if I have this B and I made it a B flat, that still is a third. Or rather, if I made it B sharp, it is still a third. So how will the musician know I want G to regular B? So this is where our knowledge of the major scale comes into play. So I have written above here a G major scale. And this applies to any scale, any major scale. So when the lowest note is G, if any of the notes or any note in the interval belongs to this major scale, they are going to be a specific name. So I'm going to tell you, once the interval is from G and it's repeated, G to G, it's a unison, it is going to be perfect. So from G to G, because G is in the scale, we call that a perfect unison. Perfect unison. Once it's in the scale of the bottom note, and the bottom note is G, so we're going to pretend it's G major. There are two other notes, well, three others that will get this perfect name. G, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. From G to its fourth, and I'm going to put G. C is the fourth note in the scale. It's 4, a distance of a fourth apart. If I made this G and I went up, it's line to space. So you expect it to be an even number. G, 2, 3, 4. So G to C is a fourth. Once they are fourth apart and the note, the upper note, belongs to the scale of the lower note. In this case, the lower note is G, so we're in G major. And we see that the C belongs to the scale of G. That is going to be a perfect fourth. So where else do we get perfect? We get perfect on the fifth. So if the bottom note is G, and you know that is a fifth away, and you know that is a fifth away, and you always check your interval from lowest to highest, and the upper note belongs to the scale of the lower note, then that is also going to be perfect. So this is a perfect fifth. And the final one that gets perfect is the octave. G, it insists on giving me G, octave, you have a perfect octave. So you can get perfect intervals on unisons, fourth, fifths, and octave as long as the higher note is the fourth, fifth, or octave of the scale of the lower note. So G is the lower note. We're pretending we're in G scale. And once that upper note, G belongs to G, it's unison, it's going to be a perfect fourth. C belongs to the scale of G. Yes. So it's a perfect fourth, fifth, and octave. So what happens to the rest? We are left with the second, third, sixth, and seventh. So they also belong, but you would not put the word perfect they are major. So if my lower notes, and I'll use crotchets, so all will fit. If I have G to the second A, and that distance is going to be a major second. Major second. That's the interval here between G and A. The interval between G and the third note of the scale, major scale that is, that will be called a major third. And from G, not to the fourth, fourth and fifths are perfect, all the way up to the sixth note of the scale, that's the interval of a sixth, that is called a major sixth. And finally, G to the seventh note of the scale, which in this case is F sharp, carried up octave. That is a major seventh. So here's what you do. You are looking at the lowest note, and the lowest note you are going to give the name as the major scale. In this case, my lowest note is G. So this is going to be G major. Then I'm going to check to see what is the interval distance between the note above it. If I do check, line, right in between is a space, 2, line 3. So it's a third. I know it's a major third because if in G major I look at the third note on the major scale, it is a B. The second, third, sixth, and seventh are referred to as major, and the intervals of unison, fourths, and fifths octaves are referred to as perfect. Let me do one that has nothing to do with G major. So let's delete this. And my lowest note, I'm going to make it an E. And my interval is going to be here. So this is E, and the first thing you want to do is check the interval. It's moving from a line to a space. Line to a space is going to be an even number. If I had this E, 1, and I made it all the way up to the A, 2, 3, 4, the distance is a fourth apart. So the interval is going to be a fourth. But how do I know what type of fourth it is? I check to see if in the scale of E major, there's an A. E major has 4 sharps. There's an F sharp, a C sharp, a G sharp, and a D sharp. There's no A sharp, which means A is in the key of E. So this is not just a fourth, but it's a perfect fourth. So what happens when a note is not in the scale? I will go back to the G major and I will use a perfect fourth to demonstrate this. So in the scale of G major, the lower note is G, there is a C. So I know this is a perfect fourth. The rule is anytime a note is higher by a half step than what it is in the major scale, it becomes augmented. So G to C is a perfect fourth. However, G to C sharp C sharp is not in the scale of G major. It's a half step higher than what it should be. So this is a perfect fourth, but this is an augmented fourth. Augment means to make bigger. Let's try another one. What if I'm in the scale of E and I have, let's make it a fifth, B. In the scale of E, my lower note is E, so I have to think I'm in E major. Is B in the scale of E? E major has four sharps, F, C, G, D. So yes, B is in the key of E major. This means that this is a perfect fifth. However, what if I raise this? B is a semitone higher than B sharp. So I have augmented my interval. B is not an E major. B sharp is not an E major. It is a semitone higher than what it should be. So this is an augmented fifth. What if I have E flat and I have an A? First of all, let's discover what's the distance. Let's find out the quantity. This is a line, this is a space. It's going to be even. E to A. Let's check. Letter E is 1, F is 2, G is 3, A is 4. The distance is a fourth. What type of fourth will it be? This is E flat, and in E flat, there's an A flat. For this to be a perfect fourth, this should be an A flat. However, it's not an A flat, it's an A. A is higher than A flat. A is higher than A flat by a semitone. So this is an augmented fourth. So whenever major or perfect intervals are made higher by a semitone, that interval is now an augmented interval.
Major to minor intervals.
So as the topic suggests, major to minor. What does this mean? Remember when we first spoke, we said that if a note is a unison or fourth, fifth, or octave, they are perfect. So this exercise will only refer to the major intervals. And the major intervals of a scale will be the notes that it is the second note of the scale, the note that is the third note of your scale. So this is a D major scale. And major intervals only occur between first and second note of a major scale. Any major scale. I'm just using D major to demonstrate. To the third, that's a major. So that'll be a major third. D to F sharp is a major third. D, I have to skip the fourth and the fifth. Those are perfect. B and D to C sharp. So I have isolated these intervals here. Here's the major second, D to E. And I use the harmonic intervals in this case just to demonstrate when they are second apart, it's not feasible to put them one on top of each other like when they are wider. See? So what you do is just put them next to each other like this, but touching. So this is the major second, D to E, D to F sharp. This is what it will look like. That's the major third. This is your major sixth. This is our major seventh. Now this only affects major intervals. And we are going to lower them by a semitone. When you lower a major second by a semitone, so I rewrote it, but instead, this E, I'm going to make it E flat. When you lower a major interval, when you lower the upper note by a semitone, it becomes minor. So this is now a minor second. Major second, and you use capital M to denote major, and this is minor second. You use common M to denote minor. So be very careful when you're writing it. So I'm showing you the abbreviation form. Major second, minor second. D to F sharp. Now F sharp is in the D major scale, so we do know that this is a major third. All right. Now the F sharp did not come up because it's in the same bar, so this F sharp affects it. So what I have to do is make it lower by a half step. If I lower the F sharp by a half step, it becomes natural. So major, minor, minor third. So when you lower the major interval by a half step, it becomes minor. So D to B, B is in the D major scale. This is a major sixth. If I lower this by a half step, sorry, if I just lower the top note by a half step, it becomes a minor sixth. And here we have D to C sharp. C sharp is in the major, D major scale. Should I make this a regular C? C sharp becomes C, lower it. It becomes a half step. So that's natural. Make this a natural. Major seventh, minor seventh. So recall, whenever a major is lower, the top note is lowered by a half step, it becomes a minor. And I want to digress and show you the first three notes of a major scale. The first three notes of your A major scales are A, B, sorry, A, B, C sharp. So from this first note, A, B, C sharp, do, re, mi, you have a major third. But remember, what happens if I lower it? Remember, A minor is related to C major, so there is no C sharp because C major has no sharps nor flats. A, B, C, that now becomes minor. I have lowered that C sharp from the A major and made it C minor. So it's all related, everything is tied in. So when you lower your major intervals by a half step or a semitone, they become minor intervals. You use the capital M for the word major and you use common M for the word minor.
Perfect and minor to diminished.
So for demonstration, I will be using the F major scale. F major has one flat, it has a B flat. All right, and as the heading says, perfect and minor intervals, you are going to make them diminished. Whenever you make smaller or you lower a perfect interval, so we have F and we also have B flat. Sorry. This is a perfect fourth. And if I need to lower this, if I lower this by a half step, no, I, I cannot lower it by a half step and make it an A. If you look on your piano, you'd see B flat and I lower it by a half step. It will actually become A, but this is no longer a fourth. It's now a third, space to space. F, 1, 2, 3. If I carry it up 3, it becomes a third. So we are going back to what it was B flat. And if I were to lower it by a half step, but it needs to keep being a fourth, then when you make a flat, if you flatten a flat twice, it becomes a double flat. All right, so I have lowered my flat, my perfect fourth by a half step, keeping the fourth in between them. So this is what we call a diminished fourth. So when you lower a perfect triad, it becomes diminished. Let's look at the fifth. F to C. Of course, it have to be above. You go from the lowest note is the scale. So C, F to C, this is my perfect fifth. If I look at my major scale, F, C is indeed in that scale, so it's a perfect fifth. But if I should make it lower by a half step, it becomes a diminished fifth. This also happens with minor. Okay, so how do we get a minor? We know if we're in the scale of F, and I'll use it to demonstrate. And I put A. This is a major third. It is a major third. To make it minor, I have to lower it by half step. That's when it becomes minor. But if this should be lowered by another half step, then it's a diminished third. It's a third because the distance between F from this space to this space is a third. And it is diminished because I lowered, well, it was major first, it was just major. Then I lowered it by a half step and it became minor. And then I lowered it again by a next half step. When you lower minor, it becomes diminished. So the rule is when you make a perfect or minor smaller by a half step, it becomes a diminished interval. For writing it, you will see DIM. Sometimes you will see just D, which is rare, diminished fourth. Sorry, well, this will be a fifth. The rules are lowering a major by a half step becomes minor, lowering that minor even further to another half step, it becomes diminished. Perfects, once you lower them, the first time you lower them, they immediately become diminished intervals. When you raise any interval that is perfect or major, when you raise it, it becomes augmented. I don't think I told you what the abbreviation is, but you'll just put AUG, augmented, abbreviation for augmented. And that's it in a nutshell, intervals.
Transposing by key.
All right, so transposing is the rewriting of a song from one key to another. And there are many reasons why somebody might need to transpose a song. Maybe a song is more suitable for a female voice, but a male would like to sing it and they needed the key change. Maybe it's too difficult for a learner, a beginner, and they want to perform the song, and you would need a key change. Maybe some of the notes may be out of range for particular instruments, for different instruments, so you may need a key change. There are many reasons for changing the key. So being able to transpose your song is a very necessary tool. So here I have a song, and from the key signature, it is, well, you'll want to think it's D minor because of the C sharp, but no, it is F major. At this point here, this is just a passing note. And it's F major because of the B flat. You'd notice in the stave below, I have it in D. I would like to make this song lower to D major to suit maybe an alto. This song might be a little too high for the alto to sing. It was written for soprano. All right, so we're going to change it to D major. And how do I know that? Because we have two sharps. We're going to make it lower by two sharps. So it means that everything is going to come lower. But how do we know how low to make this sound? So for the sake of that, I will write like a little music alphabet. Yeah, right here. So D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. So I just have my 7 letters so I can just check. So the key of this song is F. Right here, this is my F, and we want it down here on D. F is 1, E is 2, D is 3. So the sound needs to be made lower, I would say, by an interval of 3. So everything I have here, first of all, you write your new key signature, which I already did. I put my D major key signature. And since D is lower than F, it's lower by 3 notes. So instead of up in this space, I have to carry this down to 3 spaces. But I will leave this here so you can see where it is, and I'll just rewrite it, the entire song, and then just carry everything down by 3. So go down, this is 1, you always count the note, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This is what I'm doing, I'm transposing, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, and you keep that pattern. All right. Now doing it manually, you can make more mistakes. So here you just have to count 3 because you're carrying everything down by 3. Now, basically, all the notes without accidentals should have no problem. It's when a note have an accidental, then you may have to do some changes. Because in the key of F, there's no C sharp. There's a C, but no C sharp. So this note is actually a half step higher than what you would find in the key of F. So what I have to do is go to its corresponding transpose note and make it higher by a half step. So it will line up. So once you finish transposing down by the amount of intervals, then you go to check for the half step. Now this is C natural. That's because this was a C sharp and they put it back. So it was an A sharp and we put it back. So it's supposed to sound like the same song, but a little lower now. Let's hear it. So I'll play the first song and then it will go straight into the new key and it should sound the same, but a third lower. So from the top, That's it in a nutshell. So you establish your new key signature, you place your new key signature, and then you determine how far apart those two keys were, and then you move the notes to the distance of that interval that you work out how far apart they are. Look for any accidentals because accidentals will affect the newly written key. And that's it in a nutshell. Transposing from one key to another.
Transposing by intervals.
So, what if I'm given a song? Here I have a song, and it's quite apparent it is in C major. And a singer comes up to me and say, "Oh, I love this song. It's way too low. I needed to have this song up. Could you give me it up a minor sixth?" All right. So some things I have to hone in on is the interval. She wants it up a sixth, but it's not any six, it's a minor six. So I have to look at the original key, and the original key is C major. So I'll use title to write out my alphabet. So here's my music alphabet. One more time. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I just put a little extra just for so. And the song is in C, right here. And she wants me to go all the way up to A. C, counting, this is 1, D2, E3, F4, G5, A6. So she wants me to take all these notes and carry them up a six. But she didn't ask for specific six. She didn't say a major six. If it was a major six, I would be okay because I'll just go to the sixth note of the scale, which would have been A major. She wants a minor sixth. So if it was A, it would have been a major six, but a minor six is a half step lower. So she actually wants this song to be in A flat major. So now that I've established what key it is, I'm gonna put my key signature for A flat major, 4 flats. All right, and then I simply have to just carry these notes up to sixth. Now remember, a sixth is an even number, so or if my first note is on a line, I will expect my next note to be in a space. So I'm gonna just copy all this here. It's easy on a computer. When you have to do it manually, you have to do it one by one. So E, and I have to carry up it to six. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I keep that pattern going. D, that's 1. You always count that as 1. And then you go up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. And if you're writing, you would have seen this pattern. It goes down to step, going down to step. Just to make sure you're on the right step, it goes down a step. So the counter is the same. E, so we want to go up a 6. E again. G, you want to carry that up a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is in a space, so I should end up on a line. It's a step above. So this should be a step above. These are little tricks you get used to when you're transposing. You compare it to the note before, so it came down a step, so it should come down a step as well. And then the next note comes down a step, so this should come down a step, right? Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And here we're going up a 6. And they're a step apart, so you'll expect this to be up here, a step apart. And let's count up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're not through. You gotta look for the accidentals because accidentals affect our music. There's an accidental here. This G went up a half step to G sharp. G went up a half step to G sharp. So this E, and this is not E. This is E flat. So you have a E flat, and if you have to make an E flat a half step higher, it actually becomes an E natural. All right. And then this, well, the computer automatically made it back an E flat here. And this is a G here. So let's hear what it sounds like. First in C, and then up a minor six to A flat. So basically, those are the two ways you will be requested as a musician to transpose. Ah, that's too high. Could you carry it up a third? Carry it up a minor third, a major third. Sometimes they don't just say, they don't say, and we just decide, well, okay, let's make it a major third.